Let's go! I mean, it only took us 19 years, but it finally happened. I am so pumped, I actually cannot believe this happened. Hello Kingdom fans, welcome back to another episode of All About Kingdom. And yes, you read that title correctly. And in this video, we'll be doing a quick summary of chapter 840, and then we get into the fun theory stuff. So diving right in, you can probably guess what has happened. It has officially been confirmed that Han has been absorbed by Qin, and the 7 states has now become 6. And as we can clearly see on the map, Qin is now comparable in size to Chu. Still technically smaller, I know, but you have to admit, it is fairly close. Also, I can't help but notice, but the territory taken by the Western Zhao invasion, where they took Gyou, was almost as big as Han. And again, I know it was a big chunk of territory, but I didn't know it was that big. And to go over the main highlights of the chapter, first off, Rockan has officially left Shin to head down south to Rockan Castle, but he claims, and I quote, "I no longer have the will to live through the shame." And this coming after admitting he talked a big game by vowing not to fail Han, and then failed rather dramatically. I can understand that, to be honest with you. And sure, he took on this huge burden without hesitation, but this dude barely practiced warfare over the past decade, and yet thought he could just hop right back into the thick of it and think he's gonna have an easy win. That's like saying, you know, I don't know, imagine if you told someone to go for a swim after not swimming for a decade. Sure, it's a skill you don't forget because it's a life skill, but you'll definitely do it badly. And I know that's not the best comparison, but I know if you think about it, I honestly think it's dead on, because it's gonna be messy. Not to mention, we see the Hulk of Han, Yoko, finally remove his head covering, and I gotta say, I am getting serious He-Man vibes off of him. But all jokes aside, he does look like a very kind giant. And lucky for us, we got to learn more important information about him. We know that he was banished and wanted by 2 fallen nations because of his lineage. Now what his lineage is, we can't say for certain, but if we go back to when we saw him years and years ago in the Han diplomacy arc, we all assumed he was part of the same tribe that Karyo 10 came from. But that still doesn't give us much information due to the fact that they were wiped out decades ago, which is around the same time Yoko lands in Han. So that's pretty much the only connection that we can make to that. Plus, you know, the head covering as well, it's very similar to what Karyo 10 was. And still is, technically. But hopefully we will get to see more of him in the future. Next point is we see that Princess Ney collapsing from the stress due to this whole situation, and Toad jumping off his horse before her own attendants to come to her aid. And I'm willing to bet Rizmaster Toad will be waiting right by her bedside to make sure she's okay. And hopefully he'll become her Prince Charming, and hopefully down the line give us some royal lineage great general of the heavens babies. Next up, we got Kakuryou, the Han counselor, getting cut down in the royal hall just after trying to cause a rebellion against the Qin army. And you know what? I have to give credit to the Han King. Sorry, former Han King, or King of Han, whichever works. Anyway, his last order was to have his guards to kill Kakuryou, and also ask the Prime Minister to help smoothen the transition of Qin rule into Han and make it as smooth as possible. The former king has now accepted his decision and is doing his best to get along with. I have to give him credit for that, because every time we've seen him, he's been indecisive and a coward. But at least he's sticking by his decision. And then the final thing noteworthy about this chapter, and that was most surprising to me, to be honest, was Shin after entering Shinte. While other members of the High Shin'yus were celebrating that they won, Shin was silent. Almost in complete shock by the looks of him. Sure, he says, destroying a nation. Is this all it is? And that took me for an absolute loop. I have no idea what he was thinking. Is he just thinking this was too easy? Is he thinking there's more to come? Is he thinking toppling a nation is underwhelming than what he expected? And did he want to feel something else, like pride or happiness or whatever? This dude doesn't know what to think or feel, and that's disturbing to me, because he's an instinctual type of person. Literally his whole character is being in tune with what's around him. I don't know, maybe he thought there'd be more of a war feeling because he's not used to taking over hostile castles without some form of conflict first. But, you know, hopefully next chapter we know what he's thinking. Now, as for what comes next, there is so much popping into my mind. First off, what is the future of the Han royal family? Normally I would say it's obviously an execution or a culling, to put it more accurate, let's be real. But, you know, seeing as how Shin surrendered before any battle and Rockan has left with what must be the biggest threat to Qin, that being all the actual military aggressors, but an example has to be made, doesn't it? I mean, I suppose it will come down to Sei and the councillors in Kanyo, but wanting to set the example for other kingdoms, I'm willing to bet that what they will do is strip the king and his family of their titles, a good chunk of their land and their wealth, because the whole point of the Han invasion was to gather resources, wasn't it? But I'm willing to bet that he will allow the lords to act as the lords of their areas to smoothen the transition of power, because the councillors that are left are loyal to the king and they will follow the king's wishes. But the future of the former King of Han and Princess Nei is still unknown, but I'm willing to bet To will not stand for their execution. But obviously for now, there's the more important question: who will be put in charge of Shin in the long run? Now obviously right now it's going to be To until things have calmed down, but I'm also willing to guess that they will assign Ryuan from Nanyo, who was just standing up for Qin ever since the beginning, and he did not betray To. That proves his loyalty to To, and to peace, and to the idea of law, equal law throughout the kingdoms. Not to mention he has every qualification to do so. He was a highly trusted, I don't know if he was a counselor, or he wasn't a counselor, he was a lord. He's a highly trusted lord who had the respect of literally every other person in Han. He is the ideal candidate. But there's also the chance that Kanyo will be sending a representative like they did in Nanyo. So we don't know for certain, but I think it will be Ryuan. As for Rockan, I see him with only 3 options now, unless there is some massively insane plot twist. Number 1, he sticks to his word, creates a rebel army down south, and they fight to the death. 2, he gets absorbed into another nation's military, which will probably be true if we're being honest. 3, he and his men's temper will fade after they see how well people of Qin treat the people of Han, and they will begrudgingly join the Qin military. Although, just to make things easier, they will probably leave them in charge of the Han border down south with the Wei and the Zhao up north, even though that is technically Qin territory now, but they still have to. Zhao still has a tiny bit of territory in their south, so you never know. And I kind of hope it is the third one, because Rockan is a seriously dangerous threat. Now we know that he's not equal to deal with the likes of To and his army, but we know that he is still a great general, and he is still at that standard, just not a great general of the heavens. And as for Shin, it's hard to say, we haven't gotten a good read on him yet, but the man has got bright things in his future, to say the least. Now that I think about it, I can't wait to see the reaction of all the other kingdoms. Will Zhao and Wei cancel their advances against the Gyokyu and the Gakuka armies? Will Riboku make a move? Will Karin make that hilarious face? All I know is that I can't wait for the next few chapters that bring this arc to a closing. And so, Kingdom fans, I hope you have enjoyed this video, so feel free to give that like button down below a smash, drop a comment, and you may as well hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any Kingdom updates. See you in the next one.